We are Movie Menu Reviews, possibly the greatest podcast ever.
Possibly.
On today's menu, we'll be reviewing Murder on the Orient Express. Movie menu, movie menu, movie menu, movie menu, movie menu, movie menu. Welcome, ladies and gents. I'm Dan the Man Muñoz, host of Movie Menu Reviews, your weekly movie news and reviews podcast, here live on Facebook.
Yay!
Thank you for tuning in.
We're back.
I am joined by special guests, filmmaker, director, screenwriter, Justin Rettke.
Yay!
Yay!
Also here, thank you so much, Justin, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Also here is our senior panelist and co-host, Z.
Hey there, guys.
Yay!
Was that a burp?
It was a Z burp.
A Z burp? Well, the person who likes to burp Z is my co-host, Mike Stay.
Mike.
It's like a Caesar Planet of the Apes.
Yes, it is.
So we have a bit of news to talk about, so let's go ahead and go into that. I'm going to toss that news story over to Z, as we're going to get a little serious at the moment. Go ahead, Z,
so we're
take over.
definitely not covering trailers this week. We want to cover what's going on in Hollywood. So for those of you who are watching the news and asking what's different now, I wanted to go over how Hollywood has been changing for the past few years. And I wanted to go through these previous events in Hollywood that has made it relevant for the press to cover. And by all means, guys, jump right in. I want this to be a discussion. I believe that the Weinstein event has been something that's been coming. So, for example, in 2015, Patricia Arquette and Meryl Streep spoke out about fair pay at Hollywood. So this was something that was pretty big because Patricia Arquette did do it on stage, and she was asking for fair pay. And I feel like because women in Hollywood were getting more power, they were able to ask it. And so this shook up Hollywood at that time. This is, again, 2015, only 2 years ago. Would you guys agree that that was a big event in Hollywood?
I would agree. Yeah, I would also say, like Jennifer Lawrence spoke up.
Jennifer Lawrence was another person?
And yeah, a few things, yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely something.
It was a shift.
It was
especially with Ava DuVerney as well, that directed some of that year.
Exactly. So it was a huge shift, and people started talking more about it. In 2016, speaking of Ava DuVerney, the OscarsSoWhite, the hashtag OscarsSoWhite became a huge thing where it became relevant to talk about how not enough people of color are not being represented in Hollywood films, specifically in Oscar-nominated films. And then that became a huge discussion point, and it opened up. It made it okay for people to say, this is not okay in Hollywood. Would you guys agree with that point as well?
Yeah, I'd say that definitely was a shift. It was definitely
another turning point.
Yeah. Where like again, the conversation actually was opened up. Like that's what I would say is that the conversation. Actually
they
was
also
opened up.
they adjusted the rules of the Academy to allow people of color to be in the Academy.
Exactly. Whereas before they weren't actually being allowed in, now it became much more of a crucial point. And more importantly, Moonlight did win the following year, and it was a story that was different and not told before. So it made it. I think Moonlight cemented it in making it the right move. During that same year, and I didn't really want to cover this, but I do believe that the Harvey Weinstein thing wouldn't have come out had it not been for Donald Trump and Billy Bush on the bus. Now, Donald Trump claimed that this was what do you call it? Locker room talk. And people laughed at it. Billy Bush's career got destroyed. But I agree that, in fact, Donald Trump wasn't lying about that. He was telling the truth because in Hollywood, that was what was talked about.
I think that's a little general, but I think that there are groups of people, I think it's fair to say, where that sort of behavior, certain demographics of people who felt that was completely acceptable behavior.
Yes.
And also, I mean,
and mentality.
We should also mention, though, that there have been people who have tried to come out in years that have spoken out about this, who were shut down or
manipulated or paid off or threatened to not come forward or not follow the stories along. It's been an ongoing problem in Hollywood. And up to Harvey Weinstein's, this just happened, 2 months ago? No, less than that, I think now, right? But the investigations weren't really being covered in the mass press. So Harvey Weinstein, his thing was completely unraveled by the New York Times, and thank goodness for them, they were able to break it open and then make it a relevant discussion for the public to discuss. #MeToo, right? That was the thing that just kind of made it easier for the public to talk about. And that's the thing, right?
And that started with Alyssa Milano, right?
Alyssa Milano was the one who started that. And the other thing, too, is like, right, now we've got a bunch of actors and a bunch of producers and a bunch of people in Hollywood that are being, well, the light is shining hard on them. And I think it's mainly to do because Harvey Weinstein was such a big figure in Hollywood, it made his behavior tolerable. But now, because the news is covering it, it has made it easier for people to come, victims to come forward, survivors to come forward and say, now we can't tolerate this any longer.
And we were, I think I would like to jump in here and just say that, like, I think the fact that anybody is actually hearing these stories is actually a bigger deal for people coming forward and talking, because look who broke the story. It was the New York Times. It wasn't Variety. It wasn't the Hollywood Reporter. It wasn't any industry publication. It's certainly and there's a lot of backwashing, I'm sure, between we've all seen stuff where you're like, okay, well, they're going to promote something even though it's kind of like weak. But I think there's a lot of, like, for example, the LA Times.
Yes.
The LA Times, was critical of Disney, and Disney tried to block them out with, using the power of the strength in the industry, just saying like, no. And then it took a whole bunch of other media outlets, named media outlets, going like, well, fine, then we're not going to review your films at all.
You're not going to be in an awards consideration.
Yeah. And then you're not going to be in awards consideration. And then like finally, like, Disney Studios backed off. But I think there's a lot here where the fact that the story actually came out and wasn't buried is a much bigger deal for a lot of people. And I think it essentially boils down to fear.
Yes, absolutely.
And there is your reputation is like everything when you work in the industry. Even on an incredibly low level that I worked on, there is this fear, this overwhelming fear that if somebody starts talking crap about
you speak out,
you are fucked. Like, they're going to go to their friends have friends, and essentially it's going to be impossible for you to get work. We've all heard these terms before.
Blacklisted.
Casting couch. Yeah. You'll never work in this town again. Yep. These are not new concepts. No. These are
decades.
They're euphemisms now. You know what I mean? They're just they've been embedded in the lexicon so deep that I kind of don't even think about it. Somebody will just throw out the term casting couch, and it's like, oh, that's because that's just a thing that exists. It's like, well, why?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
How is that acceptable?
Yeah. and I think it really comes down from people in power. If you've got power and you could hold it over someone's career, and again, we've talked about this before. People who are actors, who are who work on set, they just have a job. That's their job.
And it's not a guaranteed job. It's not like most people's job where like you have like an actual HR department or anybody you can report to. You're working as an independent contractor always. And basically all they have to do is never hire you again.
Right. And that's kind of the scary thing about Harvey Weinstein's contracts, right, is that he had in his contract an escalation curve for paying people off. And if that didn't work, then he would threaten, he would use agents to go to people and make sure that the stories weren't being run. So the fact that was going on, I think just made that behavior way more tolerable in Hollywood. And again, I agree with you on that. So that now people are speaking out and people are finally listening. The Anthony Rapp story that came out has completely destroyed Kevin Spacey because it's now okay to speak out, and there are so many people talking about how Kevin Spacey continuously sexually harassed and took it further than that, assaulted, and so now it's destroying careers.
I think also it's important to mention the Corey Feldman thing.
Yes, I wasn't going to go there, but yes, Corey Feldman. His story has been a one that's been told for a very long time. He's been talking about how there is a pedophile ring in Hollywood, and now I believe Alyssa Milano financed his film that he's going to make.
Oh, is that right?
Yes,
he finally got the
financing. He finally got the financing because he's now going to start revealing a lot of names that people who support in Hollywood pedophilia. And so Kevin Spacey was the first domino after Harvey Weinstein. The next one that came down was Andy Dick. Which nobody, again, here's the other thing, right? Nobody blinks an eye because in Hollywood everyone went, yeah, it's Andy Dick.
He's a creep.
Yeah.
I mean, like, everybody knows he's a creep.
Everybody knew that.
And if you're like a woman in your mid-20s and you go to a bar, almost every attractive woman in her mid-20s has a story about going to a bar and then Andy Dick showing up and getting everybody wasted and then like being sexually inappropriate.
Yeah, absolutely. The next one that came down the list, and we talked about this last time, was WME executive Adam Bennett. Terry Crews had been sexually assaulted by this guy in front of his wife, and Terry Crews refused to name names up until I guess he went to the LAPD to make sure that it was within the statute of limitations to put in an investigation in for this guy. So now he's been fired, including that. And that's big because people don't realize that agents also hold power over...
So much power.
Over celebrities.
Their clients, yeah.
Yeah, their clients. And
not just over their clients, but also over deals. So like even if they're not like directly representing a client, somebody can come in from outside and say like, oh, we're not gonna package that guy.
Yeah.
You know, there's so much power. You know, they call their friends and they're just be like, we're not going to do business with you guys if you do business with that guy. And then immediately everybody's like, fuck, that guy's poison, dump him.
Yeah, exactly. So it's so scary to think that how many of these people who have power have been holding it over regular folks, okay? They're just regular people. The next one that came down the list, and this is the big one, this just happened a couple of days ago, I believe, Louis C.K. Now, again, Louis C.K. has always been accused. It's been a known history, I think, for the past 10 years that Louis C.K. has been exposing himself and doing inappropriate things with his female staff, and finally... people are paying attention. So his movie, New York, I Love You. What was it called again? Sorry,
Daddy.
Daddy, I Love. Yeah, Dad.
I Love You, Daddy.
I Love You, Daddy has been completely shelved. They are not releasing that film at all. And his career at this point is doomed.
It's on the bubble for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, his management has dumped him and etc. But I mean, also like you got this thing where like I think Tig Notaro actually bears a lot of responsibility for the story finally actually getting up and out.
I agree.
Because again, everybody was it was the worst kept secret in Hollywood. Same thing with Kevin Spacey, Bryan Singer, everybody who worked in the industry. If you heard about somebody who was going to be going on to one of those sets, you're like, hey man, listen, if you don't want to get in a tricky situation, stay public, you know, don't go into a locked room, some attractive young guys working, some guy who's like, I'm gonna go PA on this Kevin Spacey movie, just be like, dude, be careful.
Yeah, no, and I love that she came out even though they're still in production together.
Yeah, well, that's like in a name thing only. It's strictly a business thing. Like, and she's not happy about that either. But I mean, like, she did that whole episode with the scene where basically she reenacted in an episode what Louis C.K. has been doing to people.
Yeah. And so that was a bold move and a great move because that is what now is making it more relevant. Now, the last person on my list here that I really want to talk about is Brett Ratner. Brett Ratner for years, including in Olivia Munn's book, she included that there was somebody who did inappropriate things, and she even named them afterwards. But nobody has done anything about Brett Ratner up until now. Now, the problem is that Brett Ratner is such a huge, another huge executive producer. He's got ties with Warner Brothers. He's got ties with a whole lot of people, including with his Rat Pack Dune production company, that at this point, really, like, it's a huge issue for these deals be pulled out. However, with Olivia Munn coming out, with Ellen Page talking about how he did really inappropriate things with her on set,
and how Gal Gadot does not want to be Wonder Woman,
and then how Gal Gadot now is
by the way, baller move, Gal Gadot,
for sure, absolutely. No, it is the boldest move, and you know what? That is exactly what you want to do because you know what? People deserve to be safe on set.
Yeah.
People deserve to know that a movie about women empowerment is taking a stand on something. And the fact that she's doing it, perfect. Absolutely what's needed. That's the shift I want to talk about because I feel like that's what's happening now. Kevin Spacey, out. Completely out. He's completely being removed from all the films he was currently in.
And the TV show, even
Netflix
House of Cards.
House of Cards. He's completely written out of that. it's now becoming a thing. Again, Louis C.K., his career no longer going to be released. Anything, at least from what we can hear, nothing's going to be released. Now, my question to you guys is this going to keep up? Is this going to stay alive?
That's the real question that I've got floating around in the back of my head, because, like, you know, obviously right now there's sort of a floodgate scenario.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I mean, the only reason all this poor behavior has ever been allowed to continue is essentially greed.
Yes.
That's it. I mean, the major players up at the top, studio network, now multi-conglomerates own everything.
Mm-hmm. Hold on. Rigo just commented George Takei.
Oh, George Takei is also on the list.
He denies it, though.
Now, we will put up a list on our website, and we'll add it into the show notes, a full list of all the victims who have been saying that these people of power have been taking advantage. So, yes, George Takei was one of them as well.
Yeah. Oh, shoot. I derailed my own.
Sorry.
I got off the rails.
Well, is this going to last?
The question now is I mean, like, you've got anybody who hasn't been exposed. You've got to guess. They're circling the wagons and working on damage control and working on covering up and silencing people. You know, there's more people out there who have been abusive. Yeah. Just I mean, it's unfortunately, and this is an interesting thing. Sorry to promote another podcast, but in Script Notes, Craig Mazin talks about working for not Harvey but Bob Weinstein, and talking about the. He talked about a lot of things. It was very difficult. It's a very terrible place to work. And what Craig Mazin said that I wholeheartly agree with is that the industry, as it stands right now, rewards bullying.
Yeah.
And it's not just related to sexual misconduct. And that's the thing. I think that's kind of, if there's a next wave, this is what's going to come through in the next wave.
John Berthal, who's right now playing Punisher, came out. He was in Baby Driver and said how Kevin Spacey was just a big bully on set.
Yeah. I think what people are going to, if people are able to, I think what people are going to start talking about is how psychologically abusive so many people who are in power, especially like the middle power people, producers who have their own production company, or maybe a director who's ascended to where they have because basically it's the producer credit. That's your gateway. If you want to be a bad person to other people, that is like your get out of jail free card. You have a producer credit, or God forbid an executive producer credit, nobody's going to hold you accountable, especially if you're making money. And that's the thing. It's the greed thing.
Yeah.
It's people up top saying well, this person.
Boys will be boys.
Boys will be boys. This person made us so much money last year. How can we possibly justify letting anybody take them down?
So here's my question. What should us as an audience do about this? What can we do to stop these people? You're saying greed is the initiator?
I say not. Don't stop listening to the victims.
Yeah, I'd say that's one thing too. I think there's a lot of value. I know people sometimes poo-poo this idea, but I believe in voting with your wallet.
Yeah, I agree.
If there's it's so easy to post something on the internet that's be like, this is something that Brett Ratner's production company has a backdoor in on, even though they're not credited. Don't go see it.
Don't go see it.
If you don't want to support people who behave this way, then don't
support it.
Yeah. Also, Alicia Vikander as well, right?
I was about to mention. Yeah, Alicia Vikander, along with 600 other Swedish actresses.
600 Swedish actresses.
Yeah, no, she's spearheading another movement. Yeah,
this is Alicia Vikander. She
not in Hollywood, but in Sweden and surrounding areas.
Yeah.
It's about 600 actresses who are going out talking publicly about being abused and not wanting to take it anymore. And they're starting the hashtag silence action.
Yeah.
Well, it's in Swedish, but the translation in English is silence action. That they're not going to tolerate that anymore. That they're going to go and find the people who have been doing this and publicly ridicule them.
And it's funny. A couple people have asked me, all right, there was also this article that was men in Hollywood are shaking in their boots, and I'm like, I'm not.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, and I was thinking about that. And I was like, that's a terrible generalization because a lot of people don't understand how big / small Hollywood is.
Yeah.
And it's there's plenty of people that I know who are not
Creeps.
fucking scumbags, dude.
Yeah.
Like, come on. And I'm like, somehow I've managed to always treat human beings like human beings.
Right.
Like, that's,
Well,
I'm like
it's-
sitting there, I'm like reading
yeah.
about all this stuff, and I'm like, God damn. On one hand, you suspect stuff, but on the other hand, you're like, well, I don't know what's been going on. I don't have no like deep knowledge on these things.
Right,
You just
right.
hear stuff about certain people, and you're like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
steer a wide path around that.
Yeah, and so I agree with you on that. It's and that's the thing, right? It's like we hear a lot of things of Hollywood. Like, we've known about these things. We've known about all of this misconduct on set, all these bullies. It's people in power who have this level of abusive, but not everybody in Hollywood, right? Like, I remember seeing like a joke article about Tom Hanks still accused of being the nice guy. So there are folks who are not that terrible, but the people who are in power use Twitter, use whatever means you can to get the word out there. Alicia Vikander is doing a great job of making people aware. That's the issue. Make people aware. Vote with your wallet. Do not go watch films that support any of these folks.
And pay attention. And pay attention. Don't the way things like this basically go is, yeah, you've got a whole bunch of different people. If people stop reading the articles, if people stop paying attention, but there's analytics.
Yeah.
Newspapers and stuff have to use their analytics. If they're publishing articles and people are not reading them and opening them, then they're going to say, we can't afford to pursue this line of reporting because we can't pay for it.
Yes.
They have to keep their lights on too. So if you see articles, if you see stuff, pay attention, read it.
Yeah, share it, read it, do what you can, make it known that this is not okay. And luckily, I think the Oscars is moving in that direction too. So we've got Hollywood's got a lot of work to do. It started with the women speaking out about fair pay. It went on to the OscarsSoWhite, and now we're here. And now it's your turn to vote with your wallet and pay attention.
We will see what happens in the future of Hollywood. All right, let's go ahead. We're going to move on to the review for Murder on the Orient Express.
Now the past of Hollywood.
Yeah. All right, so I actually saw this film, so I'm going to toss the hosting duties over to my co-host, Mike Stay.
Hey,
Mikey.
All right. All right, so the movie we're reviewing is Murder on the Orient Express, directed by Kenneth Branagh, written by Michael Green, based on the book by Agatha Christie, starring Kenneth Branagh, Tom Bateman, Daisy Ridley, Leslie Odom Jr., Michelle Pfeiffer, Josh Gad.
It's a huge list. I apologize.
It's okay. Manuel Garcia Rolfo, Penelope Cruz, Johnny Depp, Judi Dench, Olivia Colman, and Willem Dafoe.
I have to correct you there. I believe her name is Penelope Cruz.
Got it. Excuse me. Penelope
Get it
Cruz.
right, Mike.
Sorry. I just can't resist a broken lizard joke.
I'm always open to miscorrection. Here's the plot. A lavish train ride unfolds. I'm sorry. Let me readjust here. A lavish train ride unfolds into a stylish and suspenseful mystery. From the novel by Agatha Christie, Murder on the Orient Express tells of 13 stranded strangers on one man's race to solve the puzzle before a murder strikes again.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's classic. I mean, it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
you're like, wow, we've seen this so many times. You're like, yeah, because Agatha Christie's a beast, and everybody bit her style.
Yeah. It's like it's the original that comes
What is
out,
it?
but everyone thinks
but
it's like
it's the original that comes out 89 years later.
And on top of that, 33 books, right? She wrote 33 books on this detective.
Yeah, in addition to other books,
Right, of course.
that she wrote. There are also mysteries. Agatha Christie's a fun person to talk about, but let's stick to
This
the
is a movie
Yeah.
podcast.
yeah. Back to the book review, no, which is fine. I don't know. Depending on how this movie is, maybe the review will turn into a book review.
Yeah, so where do we start with this?
Yeah. Well, I guess closing this out. Now, depending on your spoiler-free review, so we won't be doing any spoilers.
Yes.
So don't worry. We won't ruin it for
Although,
you.
let's be fair, you probably know the answers already.
You probably. Is it that easy to guess? Is it Johnny Depp?
Well, he dies. That's in the trailer.
Yeah.
But it's kind
he's
of like
the
Clue,
victim.
like
I was just really surprised when Voldemort showed up.
On the Hogwarts Express.
So this is
Yeah, dude, spoilers. Come on, man.
is Daniel Radcliffe?
That would be a great movie. Murder on the Hogwarts Express.
That's
Oh, okay.
I think you've just written a good
That's
parody,
a
Dan.
good idea.
A nice parody.
Dan Muñoz, king of all fan fiction. Tonight on Charlie Rose.
Nice.
I think
And then WB sues me.
So
so depending on your reviews, I will decide if this movie is worth a dine-in, watch it in theaters, take out, wait and watch it at home, or leftovers, toss this film in the trash.
Or off a train.
Off the train.
Yeah, toss yourself off the train.
leftovers, throw mama off the train.
Oh my God. Yes.
No? Okay.
Oh, that's
All
an
right.
old reference.
Yes, it is.
yeah, but worth it.
Yeah.
Throw Mama from the train. High recommendation from Justin Rettke.
Yeah.
Get that $2.99 Amazon rental, and it'll be worth every penny.
Or a VHS copy. If you can
VHS,
find
dude,
it.
if you can bust out a VHS.
Yeah, I think that may be the best way to watch it.
Yeah. Well, if you have a Sony Trinitron monitor.
Now, whoever wins will earn a point, and whoever has the most points at the end of the season will be able to develop a segment whenever they want eventually.
And Justin, you just need 10 points. If you get up to 10 points, just go ahead and cash them in, and you could do.
We'll get you a free
Or-
boba.
I was gonna say, or I don't know. I kind of got it for that boba.
We gotta stamp your card though.
Yeah, we got a movie menu.
We haven't gotten the
card.
cards yet, have we?
No,
Oh,
we haven't.
Damn, we need to get on that.
Yeah, we're getting on that. Yeah, we'll have them personalized. It'll say Justin Rettke.
And
Yeah.
we'll just stamp it.
Yeah,
monogram.
Yeah.
We'll have to reenact that scene from American Psycho. Where
Yes,
they all
exactly
compare
that
their
one.
cards. I'm nearly in tears.
With an eggshell finish. Oh.
The texture's so refined. All right, so rate this movie. Justin, since you're our guest, I would like you to rate this film first.
I would say it's a takeout if you've never seen the other stuff
Oh,
Interesting.
wow.
or read the book.
Okay.
Okay.
Dan?
Z.
Okay, thank you. It's a dine-in for me. It was now there are some issues with the film, without a doubt. Really, there's, but not very much. And up until you really sign in for the trip, you really do enjoy it. And I think the direction, I really, really enjoyed. And the acting is magnificent. It's just a fun movie.
It is
Dan?
definitely a takeout.
Really,
Not a dine-in.
Oh,
That's
damn!
interesting.
I'm
Okay.
fighting against the odds here.
2 against
Okay.
1 here.
All right,
Yeah, man.
bring it on.
This
All right.
is interesting.
So
Okay.
I was all right. Well, let's go for it.
right.
What didn't work for you guys?
I think. I love Kenneth Branagh, but his movies that he directs and he stars in are, as of late, are not as great as they could have been. Like,
Oh, that's not as of late, dude. It started with Frankenstein.
well, that's true. But like more like Jack Ryan's Shadow Recruit. That
sure,
was terrible.
I agree. That was pretty bad.
I mean, Hamlet was great that he was in and directed. But I don't know, just like
What do you? What is it like for me? Like
it's pacing. The pacing is off.
Pacing-
well, the pacing seemed fair for me, but for me, what it
And
was,
there was just like no like I don't. It's just weird because like I love like whodunit movies or whodunit movies, and like I love Clue, I love Gosford Park, and like they spend time for you to care about these characters,
Yeah.
and to see the motives that everyone's a suspect. They didn't spend time enough for
That
me.
was-
This may
that
actually
was an
be
issue.
where Dan and I actually land because I also love whodunits. And I think it's one of those things where it's like if you've watched and read a lot of
Yeah.
whodunits, then you sort of start to feel
Kinda
the
savvy.
weakness
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and the slop in this
Okay.
storytell.
So
Got
with that, I agree. I do feel like they didn't spend enough time with each of the characters. I feel like it was a bit of a rush
But
job.
also, like in the whodunit films, you as an audience feel like you are part of the detective work. Like you
Right.
are along the ride, helping the detective work. In this sense, I didn't know where the hell it was going. I mean, I knew where it was going, but I didn't feel like I was part of the.
Paro's going to
detective
figure it
work.
out because Paro's going to figure it out. That was
Right,
pretty much
that was
it.
pretty
You
much
didn't
it.
really
Yeah.
see the gears turning at all.
No, not at all.
Yeah, there was a
And
couple
it's
of
very
there was a couple of
unfortunate.
jumps too that like he made some jump conclusions, and I was like, wait, how did you get there?
I found it in my mustache.
Because apparently he's possibly the greatest detective in the world.
The greatest detective in the world. Yeah, exactly. But see, what do you guys think of the acting, though? I felt like the acting was really strong in this film. I think that's what really carried it.
It was an excellent cast. It was an excellent cast. You can't talk smack about anybody. I think you're also in a trap, though, because you've got
so many people to follow. Yeah,
right.
We talked about this before, I think, where you have only so much chronological real estate you can apply to any one character.
I do agree with that. Yeah,
and there's got to be strong. If you only have 10 seconds to nail a character, that character has to be brought in strong. There can't be any question in your mind.
Do you feel like this movie would have benefited from an extra 30 minutes?
That or cutting down the characters, because it did not necessarily need all those 13 characters in there.
13,
it could have been. You mentioned 13 stranded people, right?
Yeah. So there's just because it's like 5 minutes a character. Then
pretty
the
much,
over.
Yeah, I guess, because you have to spend some time interrogating them, and in doing so, you don't spend as much time with the background of who these characters are and why they're there and what's going on with them. You just there's pick and choose on some of them.
So it's just it seems like a collage of character pieces.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yes.
And there's no real story.
There's no
character.
There's a story. There is a story.
Or character arc. Like nobody really.
No, it's not a character arc kind of story. It's a whodunit.
Yeah.
So the whole point is the mystery.
Except I feel like the only one who really does get the character arc is Kenneth Branagh's character. Like there is a development in his understanding of the world.
Yeah.
And that for me, that's the part that I really thoroughly enjoyed, was that he learned something from this whole journey.
That he's a jerk.
Yeah. That he's such
that
a
he
pompous.
Needs to shave is what it really comes. No.
He's so pompous though. It's almost like you don't really care if he solves it or not. It's
so for you, it was more of like the fact that the lead wasn't relatable.
Well, I just didn't feel included in the mystery.
So, Justin, I know you're a fan of the books. What would you say is different from the books to
Well, that's kind of a spoiler, but
it is a spoiler. I probably can't get into the details of that.
Okay.
I think what you have is you have your sort of your cadre of character. I mean, this is totally this sort of storytelling is like the basis for Clue.
Yeah,
this is exactly the basis.
That's definitely.
I was going to say that too.
Just barely post-colonial environment where there's these characters who are walking around. If you look at anything that you're like, oh, it's the English world. If you're having a tea party with some middle to upper class people, these are the people who are going to show up to a dinner party or something like that, right? And then something wacky happens. Okay, so you're totally in that zone of storytelling, which is it's funny because in the 80s and 90s, it was easier to watch something like this.
Yeah.
But now with with
TV shows,
also just me and my understanding of the world and the way things are. When you come in on a little, not Arab per se, but like some little brown kid in Jerusalem running around with a basket full of eggs, and he's everybody's like, oh God, we gotta get ready, and then they finally bring it to this dickhead who's getting a shave, and he's like, no, and sends them away, and you're like, fuck you, man. This is not your country. I'm sorry. Honestly, culturally, it's so much harder to watch stuff where you're in this, you're watching people you're in that early phase of post-colonial world, and there's, the class strata is so embedded, and everybody's just like, oh, that's the way it is, and you're like, yeah, it's. But see, me, I'm like, ugh.
See, for me though, I saw that and I was like, this tells me immediately who the character is. He's a pompous ass.
Oh yeah,
when he steps on the shit, he's like, oh, now I gotta step on the other. You're like, oh yeah, all right, I get who this guy is.
OCD. Yeah.
There's a complete OCD. There's an obsession about how he appears and who he is, and I was like, okay. Clearly, I'm not going to connect with this guy, but at the end of the film, I connected with him, and that was the thing. That was a journey that I enjoyed. Was that I actually gained, at the very least, some warmth of knowing this man who seemed completely irredeemable in some way.
You do get to know him better. I will definitely give you that.
Yeah.
You do definitely feel like at a point towards the end of the movie, you do feel like he's definitely his view of the world has been adjusted.
Yeah,
and you feel like you understand him a little better because you've actually seen him recognize his own imperfection, even though it's sort of like it's an ironic twist on imperfection.
Right.
So
can I ask, because you've read the books, are there 13 characters in the book, or was this
I can't remember.
Okay, because I wonder whether or not that was just an addition they made in order to make the movie.
No, it was always a lot of characters.
Okay, all right.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go right ahead.
No, I was gonna say that just sounds like too many.
It's a lot of characters, and I'm not going to deny that was for me the biggest failure was that like it just seemed like there was just too much going on, and they needed to spend more time with these characters, developing them off. Now I knew who done it like in the process of obviously because it's a story that's really old. However, I just felt like it was a very it was a journey, and I really did feel like I was going on that journey. And I think what helped for me was the cinematography, the visuals, all that it was showing us were like these very interesting shots that seemed very reminiscent of Clue. And you're right, this is really kind of like that. But it was fun, and I think that as far as like a huge blockbuster, it was a fun film to be sitting in a room enjoying the company of.
I took my father. I went and saw this with my father.
Yeah.
He's like 73, I think. He enjoyed it. He totally, because I asked him, I was like, I wouldn't say anything to him about what I thought. I was just like, I want to know what you thought about it. I want to know, what things stand out to you. What do you remember? I was driving home, and he generally felt that it was a fun movie. I mean, and for me, I did not dislike it. It's just if you're familiar with the genre of mystery, I don't think this is going to be a mystery
I
for
agree,
you.
yeah.
I think you're just going to be kind of like, but if you're not like, somebody who reads mystery novels, a whole bunch of stuff like that, I think this is a thoroughly enjoyable movie. The production design is beautiful.
Yeah.
The cinematography is very good.
Yeah.
For me, the CG was a little bit too candy.
Yeah.
But I was like, it's a romantic story. I was like willing to give it, it's just like every shot had a beautiful sunset behind it somehow every day. And so I was just like, like it's okay to like show, some stuff that's like, it's the, what is it? The 20s?
Yeah.
20s or 30s, 30s, something. I think
something
it's
like
the 30s.
early
the cars
30s.
looked like the early 30s. I love those 32 Deuce coupes. So actually there weren't any coupes there. There were going to be all English cars and stuff. So it was pretty. It was super pretty. The wardrobe's beautiful. The production design, the art direction. I mean, all
the music was
music.
I thought Patrick Doyle did a great job on the music. And that's I think one of the other things that really won me over was that it just felt like I was traveling back in time in the sense that yes, you needed to tolerate racists. But the music also kind of threw back that old school Hollywood. And as soon as, it wasn't about the mystery. It was just about the pleasantry of being somewhere different.
But that's the whole point of the movie is the mystery.
I know.
I also had this weird thing happen. Oh, go ahead.
It is based on the novel.
Yeah.
So, I didn't read the novel itself, but I know that it's pretty much the same. If you read the novel, you kind of seen this movie already.
Yeah.
But I feel like the translation, because there's more backstory. I don't want to go into spoiler, but there was more backstory of a family that I wish we would have known more about or read about or something to care more, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. What? Oh, go ahead, Justin.
Oh, I was just going to say this really weird thing happened to me in the movie while I was watching it. I was sitting there, and then there's the scene where Daisy Ridley steps on screen, and I kind of forgot what was going on for a second, and then when I plugged back in, I'd opened this really, really high credit limit Visa, and I had a wedding ring in my hand, and I was like, "This is so weird, Daisy Ridley. What are you doing to me?" I know it's generic, but I was just like, "God damn, she's charming as hell."
She's really good in this movie.
No, she is fantastic. Her and man, the acting.
But again, not enough time.
Leslie Odom Jr. was fantastic. I know he's usually a TV and stage play actor, but he was a very, very charming presence as well. Again, we don't want to go into spoilers, but those two open up the movie, and you really. I was drawn in with them. I wanted to spend more time with them more than anything else. Everybody else, I didn't care about, but I really wanted to spend more time with Daisy Ridley and Leslie Odom Jr.
Michelle Pfeiffer, man,
she rocked.
She had some meaty. I think she had the meatiest scenes in the
Yeah.
whole movie, and you're like, Michelle Pfeiffer is still bringing it.
Yeah.
She's having a comeback, or don't call it a comeback.
Yeah. Also,
she's been here for years.
Josh Gad was also, I thought, fantastic. It seemed like a different role than he usually takes, and it just felt really well. I cared. I really did care about Josh Gad's character. I was just like, wow, I really feel for you, dude. It just seemed really fucked up.
Yeah. No, there were definitely strong enough moments. I just kind of felt like, as a whole, I just couldn't say definitely drop your 1775 for it.
No, yeah.
It's not an arc light.
That's you know, like again, we were talking about this before. Like, I have to justify paying for parking.
No, I agree. I agree with you on that. And even at that, with Movie Pass, I wouldn't recommend people to really to spend $17.75 on. But I do think that if you're going to watch a film, it's cold out, and if you want to go somewhere to watch a film with friends, it seems kind of fun to watch. This was
an AC theater where it's cold out. No,
fair.
You go home where there's a heater.
Bring a sweater,
blanket.
Bring a sweater and a blanket to the theater, and I think you would. And Coco.
Don't be that person. Don't be that person in the theater with a blanket.
It was a fun movie. I thought it was a really fun.
If you want to like snuggle up with somebody. It's a good movie to watch.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I'd say
at home.
At home. At the
theater. At the theater.
You get out the good blanket,
or just get or just ask a stranger next to you, like snuggle, and no, they're gonna arrest you.
You don't do that?
No. I draw a line somewhere, Justin.
I think he's asking if you.
I think it was an invitation, but withdrawn. I would just say, I would definitely say that this would appeal to an audience of like 50 over. Definitely.
Yeah, okay.
Because it's like
I took my mom to see it. And she enjoyed it.
So,
see, there you go.
So it's like a casual watch.
Yeah.
And it's not.
You could
don't rush out to get this. Yeah, don't rush out to watch this, but you can definitely watch it in the theater. I think it's still a very enjoyable, beautiful film.
If it's available to rent by Thanksgiving, definitely you can watch it with the family.
Well, I think it'll be a good watch to watch at home when you watch like Clue, Gosford Park, other types
okay.
I think it'll be like a nice companion pieces to all those films.
Okay.
Also, maybe watching the original and then watching this one.
I would say the other direction. I would say watch this one first,
and then the original.
Manage your expectations, and then watch the original. Even though it's dated, it's Sidney Lumet, and he's killed it. It's great.
All right. I think any last words? I think I've heard enough.
No, I think that was. I feel like
really quick though. Letty Ayala Austin says, "Glad someone is reviewing this film." Happy face. And Leslie's an American treasure. #HamFam.
What?
Ham fam?
Yeah.
Ham fam? All right.
I also enjoy rum ham.
I don't Hey, Mike, do you have a verdict?
Yes, I do have a verdict. So I'm sorry, Z.
It's all right.
It's going to be a takeout.
High five, Justin.
Snuggle at home with the
with the blanket,
with the blanket and Coco, and maybe fall asleep halfway through the movie.
I just want to say though, I think Z brought up some solid points.
He did.
I'm telling you,
we brought up better points, but he did.
Well, no, you guys are just peer pressuring Mike.
No. Or so it's either watch it at home or take your parents to go see it in the theater.
Yeah, I
think for them to
yeah.
enjoy, because they'll more likely enjoy it more than you.
Yeah, they should retitle this Mustache Ride. I mean, I'm just the
greatest mustache.
I am the greatest mustache ride in the world.
That's a great title.
I would say though, in the movie, they actually have
great.
They actually have like a cover for his mustache where he sleeps. It's not like how you sleep, you cover your eyes. No, he has like a mustache.
They call that a stash guard.
Stash guard.
It's a stash guard.
That's good.
Yeah, no,
it was.
However, there was a giant continuity break when he didn't have it when he was going to.
You're right. I did see that. I did see that. Yeah.
Where's your silly thing?
Oh no, he gets woken up in the middle of the night, and you're right. Yeah,
and he doesn't have it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But just to give it away, the mustache did it. That was the spoiler.
That's what I suspected.
Who would win in a fight? Kenneth Branagh's mustache or Kurt Russell's mustache from Hateful Eight?
Hateful Eight.
Oh, Hateful Eight.
That was a monster. That was a monster mustache.
That was a monster stash.
Monster stash.
I agree.
It's good. Mustache battles.
Letty mentioned that Leslie Odom Jr. was the original Burr in Hamilton. Hence,
yes, he was.
So.
Yeah. Oh, I see what that. Oh,
he's an American treasure.
Oh, that makes sense. Thank you. That needed to be explained. Yes, and he was fantastic in this film. So you go watch it if you like him.
I don't go to the theater. I mean, as a rule.
Yeah. Yeah. What? Same here. Dan hates me for it.
All right. You guys are off the show.
All right, handing the hosting duties back over to Dan.
Thank you so much, Mike. Great job at hosting. I would like to thank Justin Rettke for being on the show. Is there anything you'd like to promote or anywhere anyone could find projects?
Something that I've got anything to do with? I don't really have anything to promote right now. I'm just working on stuff. You know, it's going to be cool when I'm actually able to promote it. But
is Time to Kill still on Amazon or DirecTV?
What's that?
A Time to Kill? Time to Kill?
Time to Kill is, as far as I know, is still on Shorts HD on DirecTV. Yeah, that's correct.
Cool.
So if you want to catch it, it's also available
on airplanes,
VOD. It's also available VOD on Vimeo.
Mm-hmm.
So if you type in Time to Kill, I think that'll bring it. It'll bring you, like 1 million, but it's the purpley looking one.
The purpley one.
They literally like everybody uses some variation on that title. Like it's like when you type it in, it doesn't like just search titles. It's like anything that's in the comment. So it's like you have to look for the one that has like a lot of purple hues and a handsome bald man.
There you go.
Nice.
Thank you so much, Z, for being on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike, for hosting.
All right, thank you.
And I'm Dan the Man. Until next time, thank you. And we won. Just kidding. So we will be back next week with an all-new episode of Movie Menu Reviews. Thank you so much.